Oops. Hi, welcome to Nancy Jean's 9 Candles, and you started with the 9 candles. And today is the 9th day, so that's okay. I want to introduce you for those who do not know her. This is Ursula. She's from the Ascension Playground, and all the information's below about her shows and her network, her channel, which she has proudly just grown to over 1,000. And what she works in is galactic astrology, which is extremely important. It's really come to light recently how important it is for people to, if you care to understand the power of the galactic astrology, and she will explain all that to you. Do you want to say hi, Ursula?
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Nancy, for having me on board. You know, you're the fairy godmother, one of the godmothers for the Ascension Playground. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, when I met her, she was just a poor struggling artist in California, just enjoying her life. And then she got sucked into YouTubing. I don't know about that. My daughter's laughing in the background. She thinks that's funny. Anyway, I'm going to light the candles on the 9th day. And this is where we started. And as you know, I'm going to say the meditation. Then I'm going to light the candles. Then we're going to come back and talk to Ursula, and we're going to do a couple of other things people have requested to happen. And right now, we light these candles to help focus our consciousness and to appreciate how when we join together our intentions with like-minded beings, we are prepared to move Gaia, Mother Earth, and the new Earth into the emerging planetary patterns. First, we will do this by centering each individual's vibrations with the coming times, and then by living with the awareness of our own strengths as part of the energy of the new Earth. We will feel free to romp and play in uncharted seas. So I get to light them all today, and I don't have to blow them out, so we won't have to come back. This last time, you'll see them. This is 2, 3. We'll go 3 here. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. And 9. And there they all are.
Beautiful.
All ready to go. And in the middle, in case this is your first day and you're going, what's the rest of the stuff? These are stones that are carved out of selenite. They're blown by the wind. That little one that looks like a perfect rose, the wind did that with sand. Those come out of Oklahoma is where these pieces came from. One looks like a rose, one looks like a kind of tumbleweed, and the other one sort of looks like an alien object with its odd-shaped carvings. But I just love them. I think it's so cool that Mother Nature can carve better than we can. Give me a chunk of rock, it's not going to look that much like a rose, I'll tell you that. Anyway, that's the candles for today. And now we are going to go to Ursula. And I do have one thing I wanted to do, and I had people ask me, because in prior sessions, people have I talked about the poem Breathe and how much it inspired me about the times we're in. So since we're on the edge of going into, when you see this, we will be in the new moon phase. The new moon will have hit at about 12:30 Central Time on the 20th. And so this is kind of my response to the period of time we've been through. She sat at the back and they said she was shy. She went to the front and they hated her pride. They asked her advice and they questioned her guidance. They branded her loud and were shocked with her silence. When she showed no ambition, they said, "Oh, that's sad." So she told them her dreams, and they thought she was mad. They told her they'd listen, then they covered their ears, and they gave her a hug while they laughed at her fears. And she listened to all of it, thinking she should be the girl they told her to be, best that she could. Then one day she asked, "What's best for myself?" Instead of trying to please everyone else. So she walked to the forest and stood with the trees, and she heard the wind whisper and dance with the leaves. And she spoke to the willows, the elm, and the pine. She told them about what she'd been told time after time. She told them she never felt nearly enough, or either too little or far, far too much. Then she found a small clearing surrounded by firs. She stopped and she heard what the trees said to her. And she sat there for hours, not wanting to leave. The forest said nothing. It just let her breathe. And that's a poem by Becky Helms Emsley. And I think after what we've been through and how we've been told, go to this, go to that, if you do this, it's going to, all we need to do is breathe. And in this space, it's all we need to do to breathe. And so you're going to talk about breathing, aren't you, Ursula?
I am. Well, I would just start by saying the bigger picture is as we breathe to really remember the stars and the stones and their connection. And so, Nancy, you do such a great job with the crystal grids, the stones, Mother Earth, that we've incarnated into the third dimension. But part of the whole galactic astrology, part of the magic is to remember that we have star families. We have a galactic heritage on a soul cosmic level that are ready to help support and guide us, but we have to invite them. And
Mm-hmm.
kind of finding out their name is helpful. So I've just changed my background because this beautiful constellation, it's called, another word is asterism. When you put all these stars together, makes the picture of Pegasus, the winged horse. So I'm showing this because this time now, this energy of the beginning of the new year, this balance of equal light, equal dark, and then the Aries new moon. We have to go beyond our own solar system, right? And
Mm-hmm.
look broadly at the heavens. So we're engaging more with, all right, what is the story of Pegasus? If you listen to Pam Gregory, the astrologer who many of us listen to on YouTube, she talks about the shift of ages and the photonic light belt that you were mentioning earlier too, Nancy. So going from Pisces into Aquarius, but guess what? Whoever holds the 0 degrees Aries point in the heavens is the age that we speak of. So many are saying we're really living now in the in between, in the age of Pegasus, because there's this little star behind me in Pegasus that is the closest to 0 degrees Aries. It is named, is called Shiat. And so who knew that this little star is called the beta of Pegasus, which means the second brightest star in the constellation. And this star's story for the whole of humanity is saying, the name means Al Shiat, all we could wish for, Nancy, all we could wish for. And I got to tell you, as the turbulence happens, whether it's mud, flood, snow, famine, whatever's happening on Earth, I think sometimes we've forgotten how to wish and dream and breathe reality into being. And so
Mm-hmm.
everything with the Aries new moon is saying it's not about outside ourselves, it's not about helping someone or the collective. The Aries new moon is saying step into your own fuller mastery, connect with your own higher self, and remember what are the wishes that you want to bring into beingness. And I'll give you
Mm-hmm.
just an example. For me, it's like, okay, here's light and dark. How do I stay in the middle? So I dream of just staying in the middle and not getting too attached to the light or the dark. And then I can ask the Shiat star, like, okay, thanks for reminding me to wish and dream again. I don't know, like get to the certain age, you've taken care of everybody else. You forgot, like, what do I want to wish for
Mm-hmm.
me? For me. And then for me, it's like, yes, you're right. I'm a professional painter. Um, but something called me into the stars, the galactic astrology with Julia Balaz, meeting her a year ago on Pam Gregory's channel, and then learning that there's a free calculator that you can put in your birth information, and you can actually learn for free who your star families are. So when you need help, you can say, oh, like I'm Nancy, we know that the purple hair may have come from your strong connection with Andromeda, who's sitting right next to Pegasus,
Yes,
right?
I
Over
know.
this way.
Yeah, she's over
So
there.
it's just learning how to, instead of the duality consciousness of Earth and 3D, when you get into the galactic consciousness, it's much more, as I think Andrea said, unity consciousness. We have to start looking at it more broadly, perhaps from a cosmic view. And I
Mm-hmm.
just woke up. It's almost like, what? I'm supposed to talk about multidimensionality after getting a reading from Robert. I just thought, how's that going to happen? And I just followed my joy, and you helped me set up the Ascension Playground.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just can't stop talking because I see the validity in learning the relationships you have with the stars and
Mm-hmm.
how the stars are still connected to, like, the stones. You can't really see it,
Mm-hmm.
but here's my beautiful crystal grid that you made for me. Well, that was a lot of
Well, you were ready for the change, and all those things are just synchronicities. You got a grid that said change. You had an option thrown out to you about multidimensionalism, and then you heard her. And I cannot tell people when you hear about a reader, an astrologer, a book, some interest. It's like me in ley lines. I just fell across it one day, and I just thought, well, that's kind of interesting. I wonder how it works. And energy is so, I know that what I work with is energy, that we're all energy. At the end of the day, we're all energy, and that's, we're all down to the tiniest little bit. And quantum mechanics is, and quantum physics is taking over how we perceive our world. But we, and it's not inexplicable. You just have to sit down and read it slowly. And that's one of the things I tried to do. That's why I want people to hear about galactic astrology, because we're all so many dimensions of what you're sort of almost the polar opposite out of what I am when I go back to the elementals, because they are an energy that was formed out of the formation of the planet. But their vibration's too high for those who are really into 3D to be able to see them. And you were mentioning, you said some people are sending fast enough, they're going to be able to see orbs going by and see energy clusters in ways we can't. If you get moved by something, take the extra step. And now's the time to go look at it. Now, if you're not moved by anything just yet, maybe you've been punked around like the poor person in the poem Breathe, and you've been told how to be everything but yourself. And it may take you a while to get quiet enough to see, who am I? Why am I here? But remember, you're never alone. The energies that surround us never really leave us alone. So even though you think I'm the only being this ever happened to, not true. We are never completely alone, and we need to remember that too.
I love that. And I would also add that when you start really understanding who you are, like
Mm-hmm.
each of us, we understand as you start moving with this galactic heritage that on a soul level, we're all so connected and united that it really is a cosmic journey for expansion. And there's no one that's going to come and save us, right? This whole idea of the Piscean, someone's going to save me if I believe in XYZ. Instead, it's really this remembering how to reconnect with our higher selves, and if you start talking aliens or ET, understanding that that which we fear is oftentimes ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
when we get off the timeline of 3D, which is linear, and you start talking more, as you're mentioning, quantum, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like Yeah, that funny looking thing that showed up in an astral projection was really my future self, or it was my
Mm-hmm.
grandparent. So it's getting out of the fear of something that's different, but to think more of a galactic consciousness requires a beginning step that's in the love, the heart, as you're using the green candles for this higher heart consciousness. It's not about when it's going to happen, it is happening now. And those multidimensional organs, clairsentience, clairvoyant, clairaudience, we're seeing so many more normal people channeling. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like for the select few. Everything is elevating now within this photonic light belt, and it's pointing towards what Pam also talks about as plasma beings. She and
Yes.
Heather Ensworth, I love it. This whole idea of what is plasma, and it's this idea that we're all part of it all. So there really isn't anything to fear. So in this moment on the timeline of 3D, having those crystal grids, connecting with the earth, remembering that it's a choice point that we made to be here. So
Mm-hmm.
many are reincarnating who experienced Atlantis. But you know what? It's now the test. Are we going to do the same pattern of sinking, or are we going to, at this time, work together to elevate? So it's really this choice point. But I felt like, Nancy, I got the sense that pencils down. The testing and the researching that I love to do is over. Now it's about embodiment. And as you said,
Mm-hmm.
breathing, this breath of life that goes in and out.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not just for yoga. It's for how to work within this new energy, because I think we are popping in and out between 3D and 5D. I don't know how you feel about that or what the elementals think, but in our dreams or in our meditations, there is this energy of, whoa, I'm not really here. I'm blinking in between.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that, Nancy? Have you kind of,
Well, I was told by a Akashic Records person we both know, um, that when I was having my heart palpitations, when he talked to the guides around me, they said it's because I was whipping between 5D and 3D too quickly. So he said, "Do you mind if they set you to 5D and just leave it there?" And that means that there are some things in the 3D world that really tack me off. Um,
oh, well, glad you're still here.
oh no, I'm not. I'm not going anywhere. I'm supposed to live to be 100, which I keep telling my kids, and they go, "Really?" But um, I have to function in this world, and I've had to for a long time. But I've been whipping between the different things for a long time because I didn't even know that was going on. I didn't. I heard the word ascension in 2018, and my friends started telling me this, and I'm going, "Okay, we're all going to get in this elevator and go where?" She's like, "No, it don't work that way." But we all learn from someone. We're all not at the same place, and sometimes you'll be find it's amazing when you are at certain places. One of the things I wanted to say about getting galactic readings and reading and studying that is it's just like if you begin to understand a little bit of astrology, or if you begin to understand little bit about the cards, or if you begin to understand the clairs, so you know how they work, or how they appear to work for other people. Um, each time you run into one of those subjects, when you study it a little bit, and it's not like hardcore study, I mean sit through a show discussing it, you get more information about who you are. Because all this stuff is stuff we came in born knowing, and then civilization did the best it could to kick it out of us. And when for those of us who hung on by our fingernails and started emerging early, um, it wasn't always easy. Somebody asked me, how did I survive when I was younger? And I said, the real me was almost like a balloon no one could see that was flying around behind me, and I was watching this person do what they needed to do to get along. Not that I didn't enjoy it, not that I don't have emotions that said it was fun, it was scary, it was all the things that help us have an emotional framework. but I was just really detached. And it was really just a few years ago that I could be one all the time. And, and that sounds nuts. And if you say that to a therapist, they're going to give you pills. But their pills don't help with this. So I'm saying if you felt out of place, if you felt all off kilter, look at galactic astrology, because there may be paths in there that will help you.
Yeah,
Take
there's
an afternoon and
online classes. There's a free
yeah.
calculator. You just put in your birth information at galacticastrocharts.com. I mean, for me, I had gone up to Mount Shasta and I was, trained as a facilitator with the Stargate experience. I
Mm-hmm.
love them. And then I started having things touch me and like, hey, who's that? And so I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know the names of my family, my star families. And so that began my journey, because when I can say their name, and I'll just say for Lyra, the Vega star in Lyra, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, are you the Vegan family? And now that we have this engagement, um, how can we work together for the co-creation and moving the shift of light and helping others know who they are?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you try and ascend or move towards this evolutionary process without embracing the galactic, I just think you're going to miss the big ocean of potential here. I mean, the James Webb telescope is now showing us
All the stuff.
images. Oh my God, Nancy, I just go, whoa, look at what's always been there is being made manifest, and it's showing up now for a reason. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for you, when I see you, I think of all the Andromeda, the high level, um, high density frequency that the Andromedans come in at. And I see you with this idea of flowing with the changes, because that
Mm-hmm.
consciousness in Andromeda is all about going with the flow, going with the flow. And if you're new to Nancy's channel, just look at some of her playlists. She's always talking about, I'm just going to flow with it. I'm going to flow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so Andromedan. So learning how to match up. Why am I moving this way? Is there something behind that story? And if anyone is connected, let's say to Egypt, and working with Sirius in the Osiris and the Orion star constellations, this is part of the light language that has scientific proof, like, okay, there it is up in the heavens. And are you ready to take the seat of becoming more galactically consciously aware instead of just saying, oh, it's horrible down here? So when you wish for something this new year with that fixed star Shiat, think about your wishes coming true and working with the crystal grids that Nancy offers, the eggs that you've brought forward with the
Mm-hmm.
special crystals embedded in them. It's no joke. It's these support mechanisms that remind us that we are all part of the stars and the stones. Yeah, there you go. I carry mine around to help me speak. I mean, sometimes I get shy about
No,
speaking. I
this
know
is
it
this
may
is the
not
one
seem
that
like it,
helps you
but I do.
speak. That's your throat chakra.
Oh, and then speaking from the heart. So if you
Like
get
speaking
both of
from your
those,
heart.
you speak
Those
from the
two
heart.
chakras are so close together. They can't, if you're not speaking from your heart, your throat's going to go, and that's going to be the end of speaking for a while.
Yeah.
But
Well, thanks for reminding us to breathe, to speak from the
breathe.
heart, and to
And,
maybe consider this galactic astrology stuff.
mm-hmm.
It's just one pathway. It's a language. And if you want to know who your family is, it's like, whoa, here we are.
Well, I think a good astrologer, a good person who does interpretive things about your own life, it's like a good Akashic Records person. They just explain, oh, yeah, I always knew that, or yeah, that's true. That's that. Now that piece makes sense. It never made sense to me before, you know.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you'll figure out, oh, okay. And it was apparently, someone in there. I remember that one Akashic Records person I worked with, I asked them, it was the first time I ever really dealt with anyone from the Akashic Records world. That's another one of those things when I was not yet fully open. They'd be talking about it, and I'd go to the other side of the psychic fair because I had no idea how they were doing that. I mean, here I am flipping cards and telling people what's going on in their life, but um, I they said, I'd like you to have 3 or 4 questions about the Akashic Records before we meet so that I can, it gives us a way to start the dialogue. And I'm like, okay, ask me for 4 questions. I can find 4 questions. And so one of my questions was, could we backdoor into the Akashic Records? And you would have thought I'd thrown a bucket of cold water on this person. They went, well, no, you have to learn to meditate. You have to speak with the gatekeepers and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, okay, I didn't know how formal if that makes it easier, but there are other ways. And I just said, I'm fine. And so at the very end of my reading, this person looked up and they looked at me and they went, oh my God, they just told me you've been here for so long. They've been letting you backdoor in any of the last 100 lives you've had. And he said, I didn't think that people could do that,
They didn't lock the back door.
Yeah, they didn't lock the back door for some of us. And the thing is I hate to talk about those things because they sound like very prideful statements, which is part of my ego that I have not gotten rid of yet. But it's not being prideful. It's just the truth. You got to ask the questions. Apparently I think this person had been doing Akashic Records for more than 20 years. No one had ever said, is there another way in other than letting you do your prayers and your stuff, your do, and do what you do. And he loosened up after that about that sort of
I love
stuff.
that. Because there's only one you in a certain way, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when you want another back door, there's the Akashic Records that it's tied to the earth and Gaia,
Right.
and the crystal caves. But then the question came out of my mind, like, there's got to be the galactic Akash to coordinate your galactic heritage. And that's where this calculator that Julia Balaz created, it came up on my radar synchronistically so fast that I look at those soul connections as, oh, well, there you go. There's the back door, Nancy. You can actually see, oh, first I was here in Andromeda, then I went over to Lyra, and then I've got some issue I got to still work out karmically with Sirius. So it's just learning the names. But my God, you don't have to study anymore in certain levels because this ascension process, what took 20, 30 years of study, we're all kind of floating to the top, but you have to jump in the pool first. It's like just jump on in because your multidimensional organs are all coming online now. So hey, it's a whole new ball game. Come on in. Is the water warm, Nancy?
And no, and where Ursula's working right now is really very, very new for most people. And Julia she was an astrologer, and she began to see the patterns, right?
She came from Dolores Cannon, the whole quantum healing hypnosis technique. And then through these readings, people were starting to talk about their star lineage. And so she was tracking the astrology with QHHT. And she was like shocked because she's more of a researcher. And the calculator just came in as a gift from one of her students. But, there's a lot of people like me that I don't like to do the math. And if I do the math, I don't know if I trust it. So you just punch in your information and the calculator will give you. Now, it's not all the stars in the heavens, but it's a beginning place. But just to get this idea, and then she goes into the galactic center points and super galactic. I mean, it's really quite high level, but we're ready for it now. For those who are listening on your channel, to make it to the garden, you're going to be drawn to the woo-woo. And this is just like, come on in, galactic astrology. It's just adding to the existing language because we need the Western and astrology to tie us to Earth. But that cosmic consciousness, we now have a way to start beginning that dialogue.
Yeah, when I started the garden, I'd had some readers that I had met before I had the garden, and I'd met them through their channels and building grids for them and stuff. And they kept saying, you need to have your own channel. And I said, no, that's way too much work. I'm retired. And believe me, it is too much work, and I wish I was retired, but I'm not. And so one day I got up in the morning and I was walking across my dining room, which is where my studio is now, and there was a wall. And I look around, I'm going, that wall wasn't here yesterday. And I heard the voices that always talk to me, and they said, paint the wall. And I said, paint the wall. And I looked down, and in my right hand, there's a great big paintbrush. So I painted the wall. It was like a Chicago red brick wall. I mean, it was a solid wall. And it dissolved. And there was this garden beyond it. And then that's when I figured out I was in a dream, guys. It takes me a while. Anyway, at that point, I had two questions. What the hell kind of painting is this? And where the hell is this garden? Because, I want to know what could dissolve a red brick wall. But it's a real pretty garden. And they said, this is your garden. And I said, my garden for what? And they said, we're giving you a garden where people can come and plant their seeds and grow. And that's what the garden's to do, is to teach people how to grow. And I said, okay. And so I went on about my business, and the next day when I woke up again, and I really did wake up and walk across my dining room and was relieved to see there wasn't the wreckage of a wall. And I told my kids, and within 24 hours my son had found the woman who is a graphic person for the History Channel who did my intro. And he had an intro, he had the whole Nancy Jean's Garden thing, and had set up my cameras from spare stuff. My kids are all high tech, and so tech support set up my cameras, my sound, all that stuff, and said, okay, go record. And I was like, and they said, just what it told you. It's what you've done for years. You've helped people figure out how they could tie into the stuff you do. And that's where Nancy Jean's Garden came from. So the garden really, and the garden's going back to its roots. Got the pun there. What I'm going to start doing after I finish the 9 candles is to start looking at really basic stuff. So you can sort of say, that interests me, that doesn't. I mean, there are some things, quite honestly, in the world of woo that don't interest me at all. Mostly political predictions, but makes me a weirdo in this business. But there are not too many subjects I'm not at least willing to look at and say, does that make sense or doesn't it? And I all do it all by instinct. So if you want to come along for the ride, the garden's looking for gardeners again.
You have a big dashboard, Nancy. You cover numerology, you cover astrology, you cover crystals, you cover ley lines.
Sacred
geometry. You name it,
geometry.
you've got it. If I could just wrap and just say, the Ascension Playground really ties to the word that you've been using with the 9 candles, and that is romping. Because everything, when you start looking at all this esoteric literature, you find that the key, if you want to really move towards transcending and ascending or going within, it's all working with our inner child. It is from a child's heart. So breathing in, I almost put like my inner child, my 6 and 7-year-old self on my lap. And I just said, remember to play, because I'm a double Virgo Pisces moon. I get so serious, but I have to remember it's about the play. And so that's why it's embarrassing, but I let myself be called Ursi on the playground. Only my dad would call me that, right, as a kid. But remember, that's the pathway into your own self. And the more we go inside, the further out we go into the cosmos. It's an incredible game, and we've read it, like as within, so without. But you're breathing. I'm going to just pause and just go right back to the breath. Breathe with your inner child is what's coming up for me in your heart chakra. Because as we're closing out with 9 being completion, we're ready to take that next level up. And so as we celebrate the 9th, it's one more evolutionary jump upward, but it's going to be with our inner children. Each of us has one, age 0 to 7. Embrace him or her and let them guide you as you engage with the garden, engage with the playground, or even create your own podcast or our YouTube channel.
Yeah, do what you want to do.
Have fun with it.
And I want to thank you so much for coming, Ursula. This is normally where we cut away and blow the candles out, but we're not going to cut away and blow the candles out. We're going to say goodbye to Ursula, and we're going to focus on the candles one last time. See, poor little one's almost burned itself out anyway. And I'll just let these burn out, and they take all the intentions and all the good thoughts that people have had during these 9 days, and keep sending that glow and that warmth upwards so that others can use it too. And remember always to think in terms of the positive, because the universe doesn't understand negative. So this is my one last little warning to you, is if you say, I don't want a boyfriend like the last boyfriend, all they hear is want boyfriend, last boyfriend. The not does not exist in the universe. So when you're thinking of the intentions you want to create, and especially in this time of intense change for each of us, think of it in your most positive light. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye, Ursula.
Bye, Nancy. Thank you.